We need a resolution on a Palestinian state. And I don't necessarily recall several years ago, pre-October 7th, as that being a demand that he had necessarily stated publicly. Do you think his position has changed, or do you think the way he has expressed himself has that?
And then show these photos, Jeremy. Marco Rubio falling asleep during Trump's speech. I think we've got a photo of Rubio falling asleep. Maybe we have that photo. Yeah. How about Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent falling asleep during Donald Trump's speech? Okay. Now let me show you when Donald Trump was actually giving a speech. Donald Trump's speech was this. I kid you not. Let me tell you what it was. Donald Trump goes, "America, we're hot. We are hot right now. We're hot. But you are hotter. Saudi Arabia," I'm going to get in trouble saying this. We're hot. You're hotter. Play the clip.
We are rocking. The United States is the hottest country, with the exception of your country, I have to say, right? I'm not going to take that on. No, Mohammed, I'm not going to take that on. Wouldn't that be a terrible thing if I made that full statement? But I will not do it. You're hotter. At least as long as I'm up here, you're hotter.
I mean,
Your Honor?
He's treating it like it's a Comedy Central roast from the Friars Club. I mean, while I'm up here, I'm going to just turn around. I'm going to placate you and try to stroke your ego, right? Because that's the right thing to do. You're a king. I'm just the president of the United States. But Ben, soon he anticipates on being king. The funny thing that I wanted to mention when I was watching the clip of Trump walking towards Mohammed bin Salman versus to the other table, I just want you to think for a half a second. You have two tables there. One that has the flag of the Saudi royal family, and the other, not surprisingly, the flag of the United States of America. And somehow or another, he didn't think that the empty table with the flag of the United States of America is where he had to go to sign. Okay, let's assume that he didn't. Let's just assume that. I want you to imagine, Ben, imagine if hypothetically that was Joe Biden. Imagine what the Republicans would be screaming right now across all news. Newsmax, OAN, Fox, The Post, etc. What would they be saying? What would front page turn around and look like?
I can tell you because I know what the front page is today, Michael. I don't have to go back. The media today, right this freaking moment, right now, as we're doing this, is talking about former President Biden over and over again. Honestly, it seems like every reporter from corporate news, from Jake Tapper to an Axios guy to this one, has a book out right now on former President Biden being mentally incompetent and old and addled, and they each want to one-up each other about that. When we saw with our own eyes, was former President Biden old? Yeah, he's old. So if you want to be ageist, just say that you're ageist and you don't like old people, like if that's where you want to go with it. But former President Biden had a competent and coherent policy. When you took and transcribed what former President Biden said, did he stutter? Yeah, so stipulated.
By the way, Biden's been stuttering since he was 3 years old.
When you do a readout of a Biden transcript, it is coherent, it is complex, it hits points, it is diplomatically cogent, and it understands the intricacies in international relations, and he surrounded himself with a smart team. And why the hell when we see what's happening now, they're still talking about it right now. I saw a report that said today, the big one from Jake Tapper, Biden's team was talking about whether they would need a wheelchair in another term. By the way, I'll show this clip in a little bit. I have Jeremy pulling it. Biden's in New York right now. We can see the guy walking around doing well. By the way, we know where else we saw him? At Pope Francis's funeral. Biden alert, there, shaking hands, warmly greeted by the international community. Donald Trump sitting up, like drooling on himself in like a blue suit. Trump wears the one day Trump decides to wear a blue suit, by the way, is to the funeral of Pope Francis, which violates the dress code. I mean, you could say who cares, but like that's the one day you wear a blue suit. But Cohen, I don't have to go back and even compare. This crazy media environment is spending the day today attacking Biden while Donald Trump is out there getting bribed with $400 million 747 jets and Trump hotels in Qatar and Oman and and United Arab Emirates using his
contracts and so on. You know, in my Substack this morning, Ben, one of the things that I actually wrote, I called it, which it's, this is what Trump said that he wanted in 2015 when we were starting that camp, that this should be the greatest infomercial, meaning this political run in the history of U.S. politics. It's why I call it an infomercial presidency, because that's really what it was. It's like a slapstick QVC episode of The Apprentice presidential edition. This is not a joke by any stretch of the imagination. I remember listening to them turning around and beating the living shit out of Hillary Clinton when she accepted a $400 necklace. Do you remember that, Ben? Or were you too young?
I remember it, and then I remember the whole campaign. I'm sure you remember. You were front lines. How easy was it? You were doing it. I was
old.
You were the one who was doing it. How? So it's all truthfully not all that funny.
$400 necklace. The GOP went ballistic on, including some of the Democrats. How dare she? You're not allowed to take anything more than like a cup of coffee or a glass of tea, a cup of tea, as they say in England, right? Here he's taking. And he's not being coy about it. He's being, as Caroline Levitt bullshit Barbie says on a regular basis, they are open, they are transparent in their interests and their actions. Well, yes, you could be open and transparent and still be violating the law, which is exactly what they are doing, violating the emoluments. You're talking about a $400 million 747-8 aircraft that I saw the interior. I don't know if Jeremy, if you have any of the photos of the interior, it's fucking spectacular. When they say it is a floating palace, no, not that. They have photos of the interior, which would blow your mind. Do you want to talk about a floating palace?
Golden toilet bowls, golden walls. Gold, and it's Qatar. It's real gold. It's not Trump gold. It's real gold.
It is legitimately magnificent, to say the least. And then you have maybe one of the stupidest members of the Senate. You're talking about the guy, what's his name? John Neely Kennedy, Republican from Louisiana, who turns around and he says, well, no, didn't France give the United States the Statue of Liberty? And then this morning on CNN, they asked that question, by the way, to Norm Eisen, who's truly a brilliant man. And he turns around and he goes, yeah, but here's the difference. It would be different if the aircraft was going to the United States of America and the government decided to keep it as a gift. This is the same as Donald Trump turning around and taking the Statue of Liberty for himself when he decides to part as the president in 2028. That's the point. Trump has every intention of taking this aircraft. Now, here's the interesting thing. everybody's saying, well, he can't do that if it's a gift to the United